ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Winner of the 2024 West Virginia Broadcasters Association Excellence in Broadcasting Award for Best Talk Show.
It is Friday, June 7th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. It is a Friday. That means we open up the text lines for anything, and I mean anything. 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. Light day in sports. That's okay. We're getting set for the weekend. Yesterday, NBA action. A game you heard right here on our family of Kindred Communication stations on Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. You know, my predictions of the Dallas Mavericks in 6 might need to be reevaluated. It's going to be a long series or going to be a short series. It's not going to be in between. It's either going 4 or going 7. I don't think it's going 6. I don't think it's going 5. But last night was not a good night for the Dallas Mavericks. We've got, of course, the entire series on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. Mavericks went down last night 107-89. Celtics led by 29 points in the first half. Not surprised that the Celtics would come out strong. I just thought the Mavericks would come out a little bit better than they did. Game 2 Sunday, again, 8 o'clock is going to be the tip time thereabouts. We've got the game for you on Cat Sports in 93.3 and 1340. We'll get into everything that's happening across the spectrum today of sports. We'll talk a little Marshall football. More news coming out of the Twitter's X. Couple of additions to the Thundering Herd roster overall as well. Women's soccer picking up a player today as well. A couple of things I really want to get into with you, and of course, one of those would be the ESPN NCAA Football Power Index rankings. Now, this thing is always good to chew on a little bit as far as what the media, what others think of where your program's at, and we'll talk about where Marshall's at in the Sun Belt and where Marshall fits in the middle of all of that. The top 10 of the NCAA Power Index, again, this is out of ESPN. Number 1's Georgia, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Missouri. That's your top 10. So we're going to see Georgia in the playoff, right? We're probably going to see Alabama in the playoff. We're going to see Ohio State in the playoff. We're going to see Oregon in the playoff, maybe Texas in the playoff, maybe Notre Dame, possibility there. Team that we won't see in the playoff will be Kent State, dead last at 134 in the NCAA Football Power Index rankings from ESPN. What does Marshall's out-of-conference schedule look like? Well, we mentioned Ohio State at number 4. Virginia Tech is 50, and Western Michigan is 119. Where's that rank compared to the Thundering Herd? We'll talk about it during the show. Also, something that we didn't get a chance to really get into, and I want to because I know we're going to have fun with it. Starting this season, the NCAA is going to allow commercial sponsors to have advertisements on football fields for regular season games. And that means you can have 3 spots. You can have your logo, your mark, centered on the 50-yard line, and you can have no more than 2 smaller flanking advertisements elsewhere on the field. It can be done on a game-to-game basis or for the entire season. So this is a new revenue opportunity. What do you think? Is it time that we're going to see that big Tudor's Biscuit logo? I've seen your post. Tudor's Biscuit right there, 50-yard line, a big gigantic Tudor's Biscuit. Obviously, it'd be a picture of the Thundering Herd biscuit. I mean, that's the best biscuit. There are other biscuits that are excellent. And I would say the Mountaineer is a fine biscuit. It is an excellent biscuit. But for me, the best biscuit at Tudor's Biscuit World is the Thundering Herd. I think the Peppy's good as well. I like the loaded sausage breakfast wrap. That is a excellent choice. But if I don't want to eat lunch or dinner, I will get a Thundering Herd because it will fill you up. So we're going to get into what that means for Marshall and, of course, for the NCAA. Schools trying to generate more revenue. What are some possible sponsorship opportunities for Marshall University? Joking aside, could we see that Tudor's Biscuit World logo at the 50-yard line, right at the center? I mean, you always want to push the brand, the marks, but if somebody came up to you and said, hey, we have an opportunity for you. You think that turf is going to stay static? No, it's going to change. It's going to change if the dollars are right. And can Marshall charge and get good money? I don't think you want to mess up the turf. You don't want to put that stuff on there if it's not that much. I mean, that's a prime spot. That's real estate right there that you should be charging prime numbers for. The dollars need to be big when you charge for that kind of real estate. That's the prime real estate on the television broadcast. It's there. It's going to be there. You have to be able to make some serious money off of that. You know, the sideline advertisements kind of really don't work the way at least they are at Jones C. Edwards Stadium because, of course, they're right behind the team benches, and you can't truly see those as well. So if you pay for those, you know, you're not maybe getting the best exposure. It's there, it's in photos, but I think, you know, if you're paying for sideline advertising, you're probably looking at that mark on the field as being the ultimate destination. So hopefully the Thundering Herd and other schools can make a lot of money. They're going to have to now that name, image, and likeness is going to cost the universities a lot more, and you're going to try to stay competitive. So we'll get into that with you. And, of course, we'll get your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Colecats are back in action tonight, taking on the Kingsport Axemen. Now, a reminder, we'll have all the home games on the radio right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. You can head over to the Colecats website. There will be a link to the video stream as the Colecats and the Kingsport Axemen will be available on video stream. We've got the Colecats next Tuesday taking on the Greenville Flyboys. That's going to be a 4-game series. All those games are starting at 7 o'clock. And all those games will be right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So we'll take a look at what's happening in the Appalachian League. We've got Pirates baseball coming up tonight. Yesterday, the Pirates fall to the Dodgers 11-7. We'll run down everything that's happening in Major League Baseball. We've got the Stanley Cup this weekend. We've got Game 2 of the NBA Finals. We got a lot to get into, and we'll do that. We'll open the text line up first, though, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You're listening to the Friday edition of The Drive. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of it here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Giovanni's has great Italian dishes. Spaghetti with meat sauce, lasagna, ravioli, manicotti, all dinners served with hot garlic bread or Italian rolls. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
Get in the groove. Downtown Huntington's premier weekly music event is back. It's Mount West 9th Street Live, presented by New Trail, Garage Beer, Big Truck, The Beast, La Marca Prosecco, and Matua Sauvignon Blanc. This Friday, it's Nolan Collins and Kegan McLean and the Raccoon Wranglers on the Marshall OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kid Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for June 21st for a ticket to ride to 9th Street Live, a celebration of the Beatles with the Newbies. Friday, August 2nd, 9th Street is Dead, featuring John Ingram's Dead Center and the music of the Grateful Dead. The Thundering Herd Rally is Friday, August 16th. 9th Street Live is driven by Yes Chevy, Yes Ford every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Marshall OBGYN, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, City of Huntington, Marshall University, Impact Media, Xfinity, and Kindred Communications.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
the providers at Marshall OBGYN. Online at marshallhealth.org/OBGYN. Dutch Miller Kia, Route 60 in Barbersville, the home of friends and family pricing for everyone. Area Agency on Aging, Southern Ohio's designated aging and disability resource network.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
So I just went to Kohl's to shop their first ever customer appreciation event. And now I'm here to spill the details. Because I'm a Kohl's cardholder, I got an extra 30% off. Or if you're a rewards member, you get 20% off. Even non-members can save with 15% off. And as an added bonus, Kohl's also has great prices on Father's Day gifts, like top activewear, Sephora cologne, grilling gear, and more. So what are you waiting for? Don't miss out. Hurry to Kohl's. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. Offers end June 16th. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
160,000 kids stay home from school every day for the same reason: bullying. This is Dale Lee, president of the West Virginia Education Association. Bullying impacts nearly 1/3 of all students every year, but parents, educators, and concerned adults can make a difference. It takes just one caring adult to intervene and help stop the bullying. Victims need an adult that will listen, will stand up for them, and most importantly, show them that they are not alone. Bullying and cyberbullying have far-reaching effects, from a decline in academic performance to physical illness, depression, or worse. Help us create a safe, bully-free learning environment for all students in West Virginia. One caring adult can make all the difference. Take the pledge to be that adult at NEA.org/bullyfree.
A message from the West Virginia Education Association.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Text lines open 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. That's our text line. You can be a part of the program this hour. Welcome back to The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Texter wrote in just a few minutes ago. Wanted to know about something that's been on the internet today. It's right now for me a rumor until there's actually official confirmation from a more trusted, credible source. But question was, any truth that Mitch Griffiths is not coming to Marshall? Of course, Griffiths out of Wake Forest. I'm going to put that in the waiting to confirm, hearsay, speculation, waiting to confirm pile, because I'm not going to jump on that the way that a lot of people jumped on the Coach Huff is gone bandwagon and train a few weeks ago. We got a real serious dose of who to trust and what to trust on social media a couple weeks ago when there were erroneous reports, erroneous rumors that Coach Huff was gone, and that was not the case. Now, I will add this to the speculation. There is there's another quarterback that has received an offer from Marshall University, and that is Raheem Vance. Raheem Vance putting out there today that he has received a offer from the Thundering Herd. So, what do you think? You think 2 and 2 adds up? Think 2 and 2 adds up, and if that's the case, you think that there's going to be a change in quarterback? That's the thing about this transfer portal. It kills any momentum. You basically put your team together. once you get them back on campus, you finally put together what you have. I mean, there's a lot of off-season workouts, obviously, and there's a lot of spring ball, and there's a lot of workouts and conditioning. But at the same time, you don't know who you have until you have. So I'll be interested to find out there. But I don't know what the quarterback room is going to look like, to be quite honest with you. I don't know where we go with the quarterback room. Is it going to be Cole Pennington? Is he going to be the guy? If he's the guy, then who's backing him up? What's the quarterback room look like? And I think that the question's going to be, one, if Griffiths isn't coming, and again, I'm not going to confirm or deny that. That's still in that pile. We're putting it there in that pile of, I've saw what's been said on social media. I've seen the chatter. I haven't seen anything official or anything definitive just yet. I mean, if you look at Mitch Griffiths' Twitter account, his X account, his profile, nothing's changed there. Then again, he could also be less than an active poster. The last thing he reposted was that flyover video on December 27th. He did repost something from the Sopranos. There's a Soprano. Other than that, nothing has kind of said to me, okay, here's something definitive that says he is out. I've seen he's retired. I've seen that as well. And there are a couple of accounts that are putting out there, oh, yeah, he's retired. He's out. And I'm not going to, honestly, say that he's coming and say that he's not coming until there's something a little bit more definitive. So I'll go with that. But I will acknowledge it. And if he's not coming, what's that mean for the quarterback room? And if he is coming, what's that mean for the quarterback room? I mean, that's a big question right now. Who's going to be quarterback of the Thundering Herd? That's always going to be the big question. That's always going to be the number one question. Who's going to be the quarterback for the Thundering Herd? Who's going to be the quarterback that, one, takes the Herd to a conference championship, or can at least win the job to attempt to take the Herd to a conference championship? And, of course, I know you look at the Herd Zone website right now, you're looking at the roster. He's not listed there, and you got to be actually enrolled. You got to be enrolled. You got to be actually – you can't just say, I'm committed, and then they slap you on the roster. You actually have to show up. You got to be enrolled. You got to show up to class. You got to actually be on campus. You got to actually be here before things like that get really updated. So, yeah, I know some people were texting in and say, hey, he's on the Herd Zone. I didn't look to see if he was there to begin with, so I don't think he's going to be added to the roster until he's on the roster. That's one of the things you got to keep in mind when it comes to when these things get updated. If he's not there, he's not there. When he's there, he'll be put on the roster. When he's not there, he's not going to be on the roster. But I don't think that's an indicator of his intent, and at the same time, I haven't seen anything other than some speculation, and I'm not going to trust unheard of social media accounts that claim that he's retired from football. When he puts something out there, or when somebody who's a little bit more credible in that space says something, then I'm going to actually believe it. But it's fun to speculate, at least, that we might have a competition in the quarterback room, and Mitch Griffiths isn't going to be in that quarterback competition because he's not coming. I wasn't putting all my eggs in his basket anyway. We'll see who adjusts to the air raid offense the best. Is it Cole Pennington? I know a lot of people want Cole Pennington. And I get it. Legacy right there. I mean, Chad Pennington, one of the all-time greats at the quarterback position, Marshall University. One of the all-time greats. Still part of the university. Still contributing. Still having his presence felt at Marshall University. You want to see his son have a legacy of his own. You want to see another Pennington possibly take Marshall to a conference championship and then take them possibly to the next level if Marshall's able to win the entire schedule, which I don't think the Herd will. No disrespect. I just don't think that Marshall's going to come out of the non-conference side of things unblemished. You beat Ohio State, I'm going to have a lot more of a positive outlook on the rest of the season. You play well with Ohio State, competitive with them, I'll feel good. If you get beat, then I won't know. I didn't mean get beat. I'm not talking about, you lost by 10. I'm talking, as Ohio State does what Ohio State does, I'm going to have to wait a couple weeks to see what this team is really going to be all about, because if you play well with Ohio State, then I kind of feel like, okay, if you can play well with them, either that's really good game planning and you need to do that again and again, or you got a good team, Ohio State's sort of in a class all by itself, you might be able to be competitive in the Sun Belt, which matters a little bit more, even though the non-conference side of things is important. I think performing in the conference is going to be always the best approach for Marshall, only because I don't know if a Sun Belt team has got a legitimate shot at getting into the playoff right now. It's sort of like the black and blue division of college football. Sun Belt really beats up on itself. There's good quality here. There's not that one team that's really just going to dominate the Sun Belt and win out, be undefeated. That's going to be a rarity. And I think you have to look at how the playoff might play out when you got a team like Liberty with a cupcake schedule and you can go undefeated with that cupcake schedule and get into the postseason. Liberty had no business in the postseason with that schedule that was atrocious, but yet undefeated, they get in. So now, what's that going to look like for college football when you see a school like Marshall maybe have a more challenging schedule than a school like Liberty? Say Marshall wins the Sun Belt, maybe has a blemish on the record, like lost to Ohio State maybe. You got Liberty, goes undefeated. Maybe Liberty gets in because, they got a better shake because they went under. The math didn't add up to me last year, and it probably won't add up to me again. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. How's Marshall rank according to ESPN? What's the Thundering Herd's outlook? If you go by the rankings, what's the outlook for the Thundering Herd? We'll talk about that, and we'll get your text in when we continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hey, it's Toby from Wendy's. Our new breakfast burrito is a fully loaded breakfast. I don't even know if I have enough time to tell you everything that's inside. 2 fresh cracked eggs, seasoned breakfast potatoes, 6 strips of bacon, cheese sauce, wrapped in a warm flour tortilla. Yes! Now, come and get it. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new breakfast burrito. Only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Appliances are a major part of our lives. There's no way around it. So when you're upgrading your appliances or repairing them, you need someone you can trust. You need M&K Maytag in Proctorville. M&K Maytag has been serving the Tri-State since 1982. They're locally owned and operated, so they understand your needs. They offer fast and safe delivery as well, because they know your time is valuable. If you need new appliances, parts, or service, it's M&K Maytag in Proctorville. 740-886-7795. Online at mnkmaytag.com.
So I just went to Kohl's to shop their first ever customer appreciation event. And now I'm here to spill the details. Because I'm a Kohl's cardholder, I got an extra 30% off. Or if you're a rewards member, you get 20% off. Even non-members can save with 15% off. And as an added bonus, Kohl's also has great prices on Father's Day gifts, like top activewear, Sephora cologne, grilling gear, and more. So what are you waiting for? Don't miss out. Hurry to Kohl's. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. Offers end June 16th. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Get Get in the groove. Downtown Huntington's premier weekly music event is back. It's Mount West 9th Street Live, presented by New Trail, Garage Beer, Big Truck, The Beast, La Marca Prosecco, and Matua Sauvignon Blanc. This Friday, it's Nolan Collins and Kegan McLean and the Raccoon Wranglers on the Marshall OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for June 21st for a ticket to ride to 9th Street Live, a celebration of the Beatles with the Newbies. Friday, August 2nd, 9th Street is Dead, featuring John Ingram's Dead Center and the music of the Grateful Dead. The Thundering Herd Rally is Friday, August 16th. 9th Street Live is driven by Yes Chevy, Yes Ford every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Marshall OBGYN, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, City of Huntington, Marshall University, Impact Media, Xfinity, and Kindred Communications.
Giovanni's Pizza. Fresh, hot, and tasty. Have it delivered right to your door. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in West Virginia.
This message presented by the West Virginia Secondary School Activities Commission and the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association.
Countless victims of human trafficking walk among us, invisible until now. The Blue Campaign provides a unified voice for those who work to combat human trafficking. It's time to open our eyes. Learn what you can do by visiting dhs.gov/.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday, June 7th edition of Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Few people have been asking about the rumors of Wake Forest transfer Mitch Griffiths is coming to Marshall. Nothing definitive is out there to say otherwise, but at the same time, we have a crack staff here that said he took Herd football off his profile. So, okay, I'll throw that out there. We'll see. Until then, we got other things to get into. And again, you can text 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So ESPN releasing its NCAA Football Power Index rankings. And top 10, of course, Georgia's going to be the top team in the country. The worst team is Kent State. What's Marshall's opponents look like non-conference? Stony Brook's not on the list, so obviously not ranked. But Ohio State right now is number 4 in the Power Index rankings. Virginia Tech is 50th in the Power rankings, and Western Michigan is 119. Okay, so you got a top 5 team, you got a top 50 team, and you got a team that's a little bit outside of the top 100. Where's Marshall rank? Well, let's run down what the Sun Belt looks like. We'll go from top to bottom. James Madison is ranked as the 51st best team according to the Power Index. And then Appalachian State, right behind them, 67th. And then Troy is 71st. 85th. Texas State is 82nd. South Alabama is 84th. Then Marshall comes in at 85th. So there are 5 teams better than Marshall according to the Power Index rankings in the Sun Belt. And then the rest of the league falls like this. Coastal Carolina comes in behind the herd at 91. Louisiana is right there next to them, 92. Georgia Southern is considered 96th best. Arkansas State, 97th. Southern Miss is 104th. Old Dominion, 108th, and ULM considered to be 129. And again, this is the ESPN, probably way too early, NCAA Football Power Index rankings, as all of these things are way too early. Some other teams of interest, of course, Louisville and Kentucky, our neighbors in the Bluegrass State. Louisville's 21st best team. Kentucky's 34th. That's going to be an interesting matchup this year between those two. West Virginia, 35th. And then Ohio, the Bobcats, are 113th. What's this mean for Thundering Herd? Does this mean Marshall's going to be middle of the pack once again in the season standings, or will Marshall maybe exceed what the expectations are? And it's going to be challenging. Of course, you got James Madison and you've got Appalachian State. Always have got to contend with them. So the good news here is that with those teams, I think Marshall has been a little bit more competitive than what the power rankings would suggest. So I feel good there. I'm not so sure that these numbers are going to hold. I'm not so sure that these numbers are going to be the gospel when it comes to where Marshall is going to end up. But I do think that Marshall will be competitive just based on history against Appalachian State and James Madison. And who would have thought that? I'm sure some people did, but who would have thought that this would be a league in which James Madison would come out like a ball of fire? Now, I don't know if that's going to hold. But if you look at the schedule, you look at the power rankings, you look at the schedule. So let's just say if we base everything on power rankings, James Madison, App, all these teams, let's see what the schedule looks like, possibly with wins and losses. First up, Stony Brook. If we go by power rankings alone, Marshall wins that. So that's 1 in the win column. If you go power ranking only to determine this thing, Virginia Tech, that's a loss. Marshall loses to Virginia Tech. I'm just going by the power rankings. Ohio State, another loss. And then Western Michigan, Marshall has a higher power ranking than Western Michigan, so Marshall goes 2-2. We get into the regular season power rankings. Marshall loses to App State, so that's 3 losses. Georgia Southern, Marshall beats Georgia Southern, so Marshall's 3-3. Georgia State, based off the power rankings, Marshall wins. So all of a sudden, Marshall's 4-3. ULM, 129 in the power rankings. Marshall wins. So already we've got 5 wins, 3 losses. Southern Miss, 104. Right there, 6 wins. Marshall is bowl eligible. Coastal Carolina, right there with Marshall. I think Marshall gets the edge there again. That's a close one. So I'll go ahead and put that in the win column. And then with Old Dominion being at 108, I'll put that in the win column. And then ULM, the only other one that you got to concern yourself with is James Madison. I'll put that in the loss column. Just based on these power rankings. So Marshall ends up 8-4. Okay, power rankings, you go by that method. Power rankings, Marshall's better than 8 teams on this schedule, and there are 4 teams that are rated higher. The 2 non-conference power schools, and Ohio State and Virginia Tech, and then the 2 highest-ranked teams in the Sun Belt that you'll face, James Madison, Appalachian State. Rest of the way, you could win. So 8-4, that doesn't get you a conference championship. It does get you a pretty decent bowl. Does that keep you a coach? No championship, 8 wins. Does that get you an extension if you're the head coach? Running out your contract, does this get you an extension? Of course, again, we don't know what's going to happen. These power rankings mean absolutely nothing. This is way too early. Marshall could be overrated. Marshall could be underrated when it comes to these power rankings. You think the power rankings to get it right? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I think the power rankings, as far as the top teams, I think it gets it. Georgia, obviously, there. Ohio State's there. Alabama's there. I think those teams, you can honestly say, yeah, that kind of looks right. I think if you look at Virginia Tech, their top 50 team, I don't know. I don't know if you go by the power rankings, I don't know if they're the 50th best team in the country. They're pretty good, but I don't know if they're the 50th best. So this makes Marshall, the 85th best team in the country? And you've got, luckily for you, you don't have to look at Troy, Texas State, or South Alabama on your schedule. Those teams are ranked higher than you in the power index. So really, other than James Madison and Appalachian State, you should body everyone in conference, right? Is that what this means? You should body all of them. You should clear them all, other than James Madison and App State. And if you look at this schedule, is it possible that Marshall could maybe take advantage of a little home field advantage and get Appalachian State? So that could be a toss-up because Marshall's been competitive with Appalachian State. If that's a toss-up there and Marshall clears the way, the rest of the way, the only team that Marshall needs to concern itself with is James Madison. And that's before we get to the conference championship game, obviously. But you got to win the East Division before you can win this conference championship. And so what does James Madison's schedule look like? Does James Madison have anybody? And I'm going to be honest with you. I think James Madison might be a little overrated at this point. I don't know if they're the 51st best team in the country at this point. We'll see what it shakes out with the transfer portal, what they put together. I don't think that they're the 51st best team right now. They might be in the middle of the pack with the rest of the Sun Belt, but I don't think they're the 51st best team. I think Appalachian State's probably going to be the better team. I don't know if I agree with 67. They might be a little bit better. I think Appalachian State might be a little bit better. Texas State, Troy, South Alabama, I think those are about right. Marshall, unseen. 85 is fair, unseen, because a big question again at the quarterback position. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Thundering Herd? That's a big question because you don't know. There's not a definitive quarterback yet for the Thundering Herd. And again, with all the speculation that maybe Mitch Griffiths isn't coming to Huntington, maybe isn't going to play for the Thundering Herd. And again, I've seen that speculation. I've seen that. I acknowledge it. But we don't know what the quarterback room's going to look like with him or without him. I don't think that's an automatic that he's got the starting job. I don't think it's an automatic. If he's coming, I don't know if it's an automatic at all. If he's not coming, it's definitely not going to happen. But where does Cole Pennington stack up when it comes to this quarterback room? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Final segment. We got it coming up for you here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Giovanni's has great Italian dishes. Spaghetti with meat sauce, lasagna, ravioli, manicotti, all dinners served with hot garlic bread or Italian rolls. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
The Greenup County Public Library is packed full of events for this month that you won't want to miss. The summer reading program hosts Smokey the Bear for his 80th birthday on June 18th at Flatwoods, June 19th at the Greenup Branch, and June 20th at McKell at 11 a.m. Girls' Night Out at McKell is June 20th at 6 p.m. On June 21st, don't miss dinner and a movie at Greenup and movie night at Flatwoods at 6 p.m. For complete details on these and more great events, check out their Facebook page or go to the website greenuplib.org.
Get in the groove. Downtown Huntington's premier weekly music event is back. It's Mount West 9th Street Live, presented by New Trail, Garage Beer, Big Truck, The Beast, La Marca Prosecco, and Matua Sauvignon Blanc. This Friday, it's Nolan Collins and Kegan McLean and the Raccoon Wranglers on the Marshall OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for June 21st for a ticket to ride to 9th Street Live, a celebration of the Beatles with the Newbies. Friday, August 2nd, 9th Street is Dead, featuring John Ingram's Dead Center and the music of the Grateful Dead. The Thundering Herd Rally is Friday, August 16th. 9th Street Live is driven by Yes Chevy, Yes Ford every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Marshall OBGYN, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, City of Huntington, Marshall University, Impact Media, Xfinity, and Kendrick Communications.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
What's up?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Final segment for today's edition of the show. We're, of course, tackling all the rumors that are going around Marshall football. We're doing that. And, of course, there's a lot more happening around the world of Thundering Herd athletics. A couple of additions to the Marshall family. Marshall signing Jerron Blackwell to the class of 2025. Also, Marshall women's soccer announcing the signing today of Maria Chavez. She is a defender from Portugal. She is 18 years old, and she played for the Portugal U17 national team. And this is the 12th signing for Rafa Samos since being named head coach. 12 additions to the Thundering Herd. An intern asked me earlier, where is Marshall getting all of these international players? And my response to him was the airport, obviously. What do you mean, where are they getting all these international players? They're picking them up at the airport. That's where they're getting them from. Borders don't mean anything, especially in the world of soccer or football. I look at how this roster is put together, and then I look back at Marshall tennis and like, where are you getting all these players? Man, you pick them up at the airport, Paul. Okay, thanks, John. Thanks for that. No, seriously, you can make offers, you can recruit, you can talk to players, you can talk to coaches, you can network, you can do all of that. You can get an international roster, and of course, some coaches are traversing the globe to the best of their ability to try to scout teams, and there are sometimes players that express an interest in coming to your school, and so you evaluate that way. It's good though, nice international flavor to the soccer team. And wasn't the Indiana coach? Was it the Indiana coach? Or no, it was Stanford coach that was kind of taking shots soccer. That how many international players that Marshall had, and comparing it to how we've got so many homegrown kids. Good player is going to be a good player. You're going to recruit the best you possibly can. 304-396-TALK. That's the text line. Be a part of today's edition of the show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So a couple of things that have happened in the NCAA and with college football, I don't know how I feel about just yet. First up, we mentioned it earlier, NCAA going to allow for corporate advertisements in the game. 3 spots on the field. Going to be centered on the 50-yard line, and you can have no more than 2 smaller flanking advertisements elsewhere on the field. It's an option that can be a yearly deal. It can be game to game, so you could rotate those things out however you want to. So this is going to be a new source of revenue for schools, and what would the value be? If I'm looking to advertise my brand, how much is that going to cost me? Where am I going to go? How much do I have to spend? How well of a offer can I get? How good of an offer can I get? How can I maximize my dollars? Well, obviously, you're not going to get the Alabama 50. That's probably already taken. You're not getting the Alabama 50. That's going to be pricey. Not getting the Georgia 50. All right. Got to think smaller. Do I think get a few more schools? Does Kroger get the 50? You're going to talk about sponsorship opportunities. Say you're Kroger. Hey, I'm calling up UK right now. I want the 50. What's that going to cost me? I think that should be worked into the plan. When we renegotiate, what's the 50? Or that could be name and advertisement placement if you get naming rights. If you have naming rights to the stadium, you could put that in there as well. What if, for some reason, Tudor's Biscuit World decided that it wanted to cash in hand, walk up to Christian Spears right now and say, here it is. Here's my wad of money. You don't have to count it. You know it's big. And said, I want naming rights to Joan C. Edwards Stadium, and I want the 50. Package deal. You package that in. You get the naming rights of the stadium, and you get the 50. Could you imagine what kind of money that would take? I know we've touched on it before. Hey, Marshall should maybe open up the naming rights of the stadium, and that's been a 50-50 proposition from fans. Some of you are saying heresy. Others are saying, yeah, if it brings money into the stadium and it brings money into Marshall, do it. But this might be the next best thing if you don't open those things up, because you're not going to change Jack Cook Field. Not while I'm alive. That's not changing. You want to open things up, like for baseball, for example. You're not changing that. That one's just staying. The Cam Henderson Center, does that stay? I mean, iconic, legendary figure in Marshall athletics. Does that stay? I would think it might. So where are you going to open these things up? Well, you already have on-court advertisements, basketball. So now football, you're opening this thing up. And are you going to see the giant Tudor's Biscuit World logo at the center? Of course, I'm throwing them out there. Who would be you can see Intuit. You can see that out there maybe, the 50. What about Geno's? Everybody seems to think that it's Tudor's or Geno's. Those are the big logos that make sense. I'm like, whoever has the biggest wad of cash makes sense to me. Of course, you're going to have the flanking advertisements as well. And if I'm an advertiser, if I'm a corporate sponsor, I'm looking at that as my major expenditure. I'm looking at that, not the sideline banners. I'm looking at that. I want right there where the camera is going to be on me all game long. It doesn't go away. It's not like it's a banner where you cross it now and then. I'm talking right there, center of the field. It can't go away. Because television's been trying to find ways to put their own inventory into games for a long time. Have you seen what the dashers look like now in hockey? They're all digitally replaced by what television's selling. Television, is covering those up now and has permission from the league with digital dashers, and it looks really seamless. I don't know if you're going to see that more and more in college athletics. You have overlays because now you can have at least your sponsors on the field. You're going to take that inventory? I would take that inventory every single time. If I had the money, I'm a local, regional type brand. If I'm a brand that can afford it, I'm taking all the inventory I can at the college football level. If I'm a major brand in the state of West Virginia, I'm taking the 50 in Morgantown. I'm taking the 50 in Huntington. I'm taking them because those are going to be prominently displayed every game. They don't go away. And it should cost. It should bring in good revenue for the athletic department. And I would not take a lower amount on that. That would be my big piece of inventory that, okay, you want this? This is what this costs. And here's what you get. You get prominent placement in. Would you find it to be disturbing that you go into the football stadium and instead of the big Marshall M, you see prominently located there a corporate logo centered on the 50-yard line? Would you be okay with that? Now, you get the flanking advertisements. Would you be okay with those? I would think so. We see it more and more in television as well with the overlays. Would you be okay, though, with the 50-yard line right there, centered on the 50-yard line? Somebody joked with me yesterday, hey, it should be the drive with Paul Swann on the 50-yard line, which, thank you. I can't afford that. I'm going to need the crowd fund that. Absolutely. If I had the money, I'm taking the 50-yard line. I'm going to advertise wherever I can be seen. And where's the best place to be seen on a Saturday? Well, it's going to be the 50-yard line in a college football game. I'm taking as much inventory as I can. Do you see maybe major brands try to acquire several schools? Could you see like a package deal with, say, the SEC, the Big Ten? I mean, obviously, there are going to be brands that make sense with the schools more so. I mean, does Nike get the swoosh at the 50 for a few? Hey, Oregon, you give up the 50 to Nike for the next 7,500 color change uniforms you get? Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend.
Retransmitting in Glorious FM on 94.1 W227BS Huntington. This is 930 WRVC Huntington, celebrating 100 years of broadcasting.